Let's talk about the 92 election as it actually happened rather than the sort of counterfactual where Thatcher actually was still Prime Minister. Major was a kind of softer, more avuncular character in lots of ways. I think 92 was the first election where you were a sitting MP, Peter. You won a by-election for Neath in 1991. In the run-up to the 92 election, Labour has been leading the polls. It holds this rally in Sheffield, which looked kind of like an American party convention made for TV. And Kinnock gives this quite memorable but bizarre speech where he shouts, "We're all right, we're all right, we're all right," almost like he's Bob Geldof at the start of the speech. This has kind of come to signify what happened next. Labour lose the election, in spite of everything that's been going on during the 1980s. Why do you think Labour lost in 1992? Was it a problem with the Labour Party and their continuing reputation for economic mismanagement? Was it a problem with the leader, with Neil Kinnock, that people just didn't see him as a prime minister?
I think it was a bit of both. He suffered from a lot of London prejudice against being Welsh, as we've discussed. But at that Sheffield rally, he also he didn't look like a statesman, and he will say that himself now. There was a kind of rah-rah sort of side to it all, as if he was a sort of master of ceremonies whipping the crowd up before a rock concert. And that didn't look prime ministerial. But I think the bigger picture was Labour wasn't yet trusted on the economy. And I remember we went into that election, and I woke up on polling day to begin from 7 o'clock driving around all the polling stations in my constituency of Neath, and it's quite widely spread with lots of former pit villages in valleys. And so, you had to keep going the whole day. And I remember by 10 o'clock I was listening to the BBC radio news in my car, and it said the turnout in Sussex has been very high. And I thought, that doesn't sound very promising for us. And I began to get a feeling that maybe the result was not going to be what the polls had predicted, what the pundits were anticipating, and the whole of the political class and the media was geared up to. So I don't think we were trusted. John Major and his then party chair, Chris Patten, now Lord Patten, and Sir John Major, of course, fought a pretty ruthless campaign against Neil Kinnock. Very, very ruthless. And it was very effective, though. It basically stirred up fear against Labour and against Neil. And I think it did turn pretty reluctant Conservatives out to vote, including in Sussex, as I'd heard at 10 a.m. in the morning, in numbers that probably they were not intending to do until that point. So I think there was a late swing to the Tories, and it was in the end because we simply were not trusted on the economy. Yes, because there were still memories of the winter of discontent in 1978, 1979. That, of course, was when there was, a binman strike, and there was rubbish and rotting bags of food and stench all over the streets of Britain. And in urban areas it was pretty unbearable, as well as public service strikes over higher pay. And the trade unions at that time, that I was a national officer, cost Labour a lot of credibility, economic credibility.